Amazing. I like that. A little while ago, you mentioned that you're originally from a Jewish background. There's a lot of stuff in the media right now. What are your thoughts about it? Because we see just post after post of what's happening in Palestine. You see people injured, blooded, children dying. They say that there's over 50,000 people dead already, and that's genocide sort of level. What are your thoughts, being, Jewish and from the other side? Because I don't really know what's going on. I'll be honest. I just see what's on the media and I just feel sorry for them humans who are losing their lives at no fault of their own from what I can see. What do you think about it?
I can answer this in many different ways, and also because I'm Jewish, I'm going to probably have a bit of a bias. That's natural. When it comes to anyone dying in any time, any shape, any form, it's a tragedy, whether it be Jewish, Christian, Muslim. So I don't condone any kind of death. However, from outside looking in, we're making assumptions without having all the right information. In terms of culture, there's a cultural difference. So Israel used the bombs and missiles to protect the people. Hamas, not the Palestinian, Hamas, who run that region, use people to protect their bombs. It's a different psychology. Also, if we look at other wars, so if we look at the war currently with Russia, when you have soldiers that are being killed on either side, you know how many people are being killed on either side. When you have an army that's made up of children, women, older people, who do you know is the real soldier, is the real enemy? There is no other army in the world that lets you know in advance the areas they're going to be bombing or want it to be cleared, to give full notice and leaflet drop. If people are still being there and being killed in the masses, it's not because they can't leave, it's because they're not allowed to leave. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're saying that the Israeli army is saying we're going to be bombing this location at this time, but the people are not leaving, and is it because of their leaders? Is that what you're saying?
They're not allowed to leave. If you look at a lot of the Middle Eastern countries, how much money's been spent on what they've done. Look at Dubai, look at the other regions. And if you look at how much money has gone into that area, specifically into that area, where's that money gone? It hasn't gone into schools, it hasn't gone into education, it hasn't gone into business. It's gone into missiles, armory, tunnels. And again, it's easy or easier for us to give our opinion looking from the outside in. And I said I will have my own bias because I am Jewish. But understanding and trying to get a more rounded view is what we all need to do. People are forgetting what happened on the 7th of October. And you also have to remember the Jewish people have a history of people trying to wipe us out. The Holocaust was 6 million because they didn't do anything. And if you've got tunnels coming into all areas of your country that you're not able to do, what do you do? The problem now is a real problem. What's the answer? The answer is only peace. That can only be the answer, to live together. We can all live in this country side by side in peace. Why can't they live side by side in peace there? We're all human. If I cut you and I cut me, we still bleed. Our blood's the same color. Our religion might be different, but we're not really different, really, are we?
What do you mean by tunnels?
What I mean by tunnels, the tube, if you can imagine, the tube goes from Cockfosters all the way to Brixton, and then it goes in all different areas, directions, and those tunnels are designed to be able that you can attack at any time into a civilian population and kill any civilian at any time. So that's what they're trying to protect, is their citizens from those kind of attacks. So how do you stop it if you don't know where they are, but you know that they exist? So if you're building hospitals on top of these sort of tunnels, if you're keeping your soldiers in and around hospitals, how do you stop it? It's a very difficult situation, and Israel aren't very good when it comes to propaganda. The Palestinians and Hamas are fantastic at it. Social media can give you whatever you want to. One of the questions you might want to ask yourself is, why aren't any of the other Arab states opening their borders to allow refugees for their people, their brethren? Why?
Can you tell us?
I can give you my opinion, because it's happened before. Because they don't know who Hamas is, they don't know who are the good and who are the bad. They're not prepared to destabilize their governments and their region by having that kind of soldiers to destabilize. And it's happened in other regions. That's why it's not happening. But think about it logically. Egypt could open their border. Jordan could open their border, take people in, have refugees, make it easier. But nobody is. Why? Why?
What about when we just see on the news that a missile just hit a hospital, innocent doctors and kids, like people who are being cared for, and Israel's sort of done that. That's what we see on the news. Like, how can you have compassion? How can you say that's right in any way, shape, or form?
You can't justify any innocent killing. There's no justification. People dying is serious. If it was your relative, my relative, would be devastated. But there's also occasions where they say it's an Israel missile, and then you actually see the trajectory of where that missile came from, and it came from Palestine. And because their missiles aren't sophisticated, it's turned back. And that's one of the ones that happened a few months ago. It was proven it wasn't an Israeli missile, but occasionally it does. Even in America, they've had friendly fire where they've killed their own soldiers.
Mm.
It happens in war. War's horrible to everyone. Look what happened in Britain in the war. Germany. Look how many people were killed by the Germans bombing London. No, there is no war that has a good outcome. And more often than not, wars are fueled and paid for by other people in other regions. So who's paying for the Hamas missiles? Who's paying for the Israeli missiles? Wars are also about money. Who's paying for Russia? Who's paying for Ukraine? War in some shape or form is to do with money and control, and we won't know all the reasons.
Mm. Now, you mentioned Hamas, and the incidents that happened in October, and a lot of people would say, look, that's a rebel group who just attacked Israel, and now the whole of Israel, attacked Israel, and all the Palestinians are getting blamed for this small group. But how can you compare that atrocities, what happened to that, compared to the death toll, what's happening to Palestine? Is that a reason?
So Hamas isn't a small group. It's the army and the people organization controlling the Palestinians. I think if you ask most of the Palestinians, really, do they want a better life? They'd all say yes. Before all of this started, most people don't know, Palestinians come over to Israel every day to work and earn money in Israel. There's hundreds, thousands of Arabs already working in Israel, living in Israel, have the same voting right in Israel, are MPs in the Knesset in Israel. Arabs have a voice in Israel, but that's never really talked about. Can you imagine in any Arab country that they would allow Jewish MPs the democracy in Israel isn't really talked about, but it's so widespread. In Israel, you have all walks of life, all religions that live together, all sexual credences openly. Would you get the same in any Arab country or state? It, the information that comes out is not balanced. And when you have a balanced view, you can still have a view, but have it as a balanced view. And I say, don't believe anything I say. Verify it yourself.